Welcome to episode 43 of the Any Spartan Show. On this show, we're talking to Caitlin. She is the Director of Event Operations over at Rugged Maniac. She also happens to be the race director for the upcoming New England event. Enjoy the show. If this is your first time listening to the show, thanks for checking us out. We record roughly weekly, and you get to listen to myself, Paul Jones, Sandy Ree, and Josh Chase chat about the obstacle course racing scene. We also do interviews with race directors and business owners in the OCR space. I encourage you to go and check out all of our other episodes over on podcast.anyspartans.com, and while you're there, subscribe to us. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, anywhere else you're going to find a podcast. You can also find us over on Facebook as the Any Spartan Show, and we really encourage you to leave questions in the comments that we answer every episode. Now let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Any Spartan Show. I have Caitlin from Rugged Maniac on the line. Welcome to the show, Caitlin.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be joining you today.
So we exchanged a few emails, and you are the race director for the upcoming New England event. Is that correct?
I am indeed, and looking forward to it.
So what I'd love to do, and we've just talked about this, but kind of the path I want to go down is let's talk a bit about your story and how you ended up as a race director at Rugged Maniac, because I don't know if is that what how long have you been there? Let's start there. How long have you been working for Rugged Maniac and directing races for Rugged Maniac?
I've been with the company for just over 4 years now. I started as an intern and became a race director within a month and a half of my internship, signing on full time for the company. At that point, Rugged was growing, so we had Rugged Maniac, but we also had the Great Bull Run, which is a live running in the bull events. I kind of joined at the right time that the bull run kind of became my baby, and I was the event director for that event series. But obviously, used both brands and also was a race director for Rugged. The bull run is no more, so Rugged is my primary focus. And in my role now, in addition to being an event director on the ground for Rugged Maniac, I'm managing the brand and our team of event directors.
That's awesome. My Rugged Maniac story is I ran the very first one back in 2010. I live out in central Mass, and it wasn't difficult for me to get out to Southwick. I learned very, very quickly that it is not, Southwick Zoo is nowhere near Southwick the town, because I went 45 minutes the wrong way.
When I started.
Yeah. I went 45 minutes the wrong way and had to turn around and do it all again.
Oh no.
So, but that very first race, that was 2010. It was the start of what, the current obstacle course race scene is. And I did that, I think I did 3 years in a row. And then there was another race on the same weekend that I went to because, you can only do the same race so many times. And I haven't been back yet, actually. Maybe this is the year I'll come back. But,
you 1,000% have to come back.
Everything I've heard says that it is very different to that race that I first went to back in 2010, right?
So different. Obviously knowing the founder and my boss, the CEO, we definitely look up videos on YouTube of what the event was in 2010 compared to what it is now, and it makes me laugh. So you definitely have to come back and run the event.
I think I probably have one of those videos if I think about it, because I filmed a lot of them back then with a little chest cam, a little GoPro. So Rugged Maniac, it's, you guys have got, so when you look at the OCR space, I think everyone says, the big three, and that's, Spartan, Tough Mudder, Warrior Dash. And then when Battle Frog were on the scene, everyone kept saying that Battle Frog are the fourth, and I always argued that they weren't, that you guys were actually that fourth one in the big four. Because you've kind of done this stealth growth, right? You've it seems anyway, that you went from this one cheesy little race in 2010 in Southwick, and now you guys are sponsored by Men's Health. I mean, how many events does Rugged put on every year?
So we have, for Rugged Maniac brand alone, we have 32 event days in 2017, and that's including 3 events in Canada. The company that produces Rugged Maniac, Rugged Events, also produces Costume Dash, which is a 5K fun run, Halloween-themed fun run. We have one in Boston, and we have a couple other ones across the country. And then Rugged Maniac, for those that have run the event, probably got the email earlier today, but we've acquired Loco Races, which is a New Hampshire-based running company with road races all across New England, offering a variety of 5K, half marathons, and full marathon road races in the New England area. So we're pretty excited to be adding them to our portfolio and diversify our events.
That's awesome. Now, how many events did Rugged hold last year, OCR events?
I want to say we had 29 event days last year. So we've added some, we've changed a few cities. This year we have 2 SoCal, Southern California events, but rather than going back to the same market, LA, we went to LA this spring, so that's new. We're going to Northern California twice this year. We're in North Carolina twice again, but again, we changed where in North Carolina to diversify that market as well.
And are all of those events
Seattle.
Oh, and Seattle. Are all those events as big or as busy as the New England event? I mean, how do you find these markets? Are they established? How many people do you get?
It varies. New England is by far our largest event, and over those 2 days, with spectators, we see 16 to 18,000 people. Our other 2-day event is our New Jersey event in July 8th and 9th, and we'll see somewhere between 11 and 13,000 people over those 2 days. All of our other events are 1-day events. I would say the average event size is 4,000 to 5,000 participants. Events that are in years 1 through 3 for that market are, growing organically. So sometimes it's smaller at 3,000, but, our Virginia event is a 1-day event, and it's very much an established event with a great turnout. So we'll see 7,500 runners in a day.
So I didn't mean to go down this rat hole, but I find this piece of it fascinating. The OCR world as a whole, people like Warrior Dash, they're trimming down on the amount of people or at races they host. Tough Mud is looking for new race types, and they've been doing endurance racing and competitive racing, which was not their wheelhouse initially. And even Spartan, of course, they got their 3 distances, but they're consolidating regions because they're struggling to find people. But you guys are growing, and you've got plenty of people coming out. I mean, any locally owned and operated obstacle course race with any history behind it is thrilled to get 3,000 or 4,000 people in a day. Do you find that trajectory growing for you guys, or is it something that you're painfully aware of, and you're moving away from quiet regions? How's the market treating Rugged Maniac?
We are seeing growth, and as you mentioned earlier, it's been kind of quiet, stealthy growth. We've focused on, for the first couple years following 2010, so I would say between 2014 and 2015, we were focusing on adding new cities so that we had more events across the country. We obviously added Seattle this year, but the initiative for 2016 and 2017 is to not grow ourselves by adding new cities, but to grow each individual event. So to make that, 4,000 person event, now make it a 6,000 person event. And we're doing that by, focusing on the individual event, getting away from the cookie cutter mentality of come in, produce the event, and leave. We're looking to work with the community, establish a relationship with that community so that it becomes something that area looks forward to every year. That's
awesome. Because I think a lot of people see that change in that kind of trajectory and think that OCR is dying, and yet here you are, and there's other races in a similar position to you, things like Savage Race. They host a lot of really, really solid events just by doing the same thing. They build a local reputation and kill it every year, and it's just proof that, you can do it if you do it right. I love it. So tell me a bit about your kind of day-to-day. So you're a race director, an event coordinator, and you obviously now, it sounds like you're in charge of all the events, or all the other people who put on events, if that's how I'm understanding it.
Yep. Correct. So go ahead.
What do you do every day? Like how do you stay? I'm guessing staying busy is not difficult, but what is it that keeps you busy?
So my favorite question to get from interns when I'm interviewing the intern class, because there is no typical day to day in the events world, as I'm sure you know. Yes, I'm still an event director for us, so I have a handful of events each year. Basically anything from venue contract negotiation to vendors and participant marketing, and then obviously operations and logistics planning and it ahead of time, and then flying out the week of the event and having boots on the ground and making sure we produce a successful event. Obviously a lot of man hours go into making that happen and working with the team that flies out to that event to make it happen. But then, as you mentioned, overseeing the Rugged brand, just making sure as our team of event directors grow and they take on more responsibilities that we're producing a consistent event city to city. We don't want there to be a various reputation depending on what location you go to. We want to have an excellent event across the country. And then our internship program is pretty robust, as many people see going to an event. It takes a lot of hands to make it possible. So I do a lot with our intern class, from handling all the interviews and then overseeing the intern class and, getting them up to speed for a summer of fun in the sun, and getting them traveling all over the country as well to help us out.
Do a lot of those interns turn into full-time roles, or is it very much like a seasonal program?
I would say both. To become a full-time staff member of Rugged, we do prefer that you go through the internship period. It's kind of like dating. See if we like you, see if you like us, see if you're cut out for it. So some students come to us, between their junior and senior year, so they're going back to school, and others come to us, right after graduation or a couple years after graduation, and they're like, hey, this is what I really want to be doing. I want to sign up for the internship and take a chance and hope for a full-time employment. That's how I came about being full-time. I came to the internship program out of grad school. I had primarily focused on the golf industry leading up to grad school, and I connected with Rugged CEO Brad Scudder for an informational interview, and at that point had no OCR knowledge, and I was like, what do you mean I play in the mud? I typically wear golf skirts. Like, what are you talking about? So it was quite an adjustment, but it was a small company at the time, and it was and still is growing, and it was a unique opportunity. So I was like, sign me up. And obviously here I am today, continuing to grow with the company.
And what year was that when you started with Rugged? Was that 2012, 2013?
May 2013.
Okay. So was that before or after the Men's Health came along?
When I started, way before. Men's Health came along last year.
Okay. Oh, was it only last year? I thought it was longer than that. Okay. Huh. That's really cool. I mean, it's, I said this a couple of times when I'm interviewing people, but it's not like you go to school and, plan to be an obstacle course race director, right? It's always something people fall into, and I'm always amazed or always surprised how many people fall into it, and maybe they've never done an OCR or, maybe don't know much about the space, but learn trial by fire and, or in the mud, I guess. So that's awesome. So which races do you cover right now? Obviously, New England, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but which other events are on your radar?
Yep. So I have a reduced travel schedule this year because our team is growing, so we have more people to send in. So this year I did our Oklahoma event in April. I did our LA event a couple weeks ago, and then I have our Pennsylvania event in August, and our New England event in September, and then our Phoenix 2 event in November. Our schedules change year to year, so very rarely do we go back to the same cities. It all depends on everybody else's schedule and making it work, but New England will forever be my baby. I gladly inherited that from the former race director, Stuart Wall. So last year was my first year doing the New England event, and I plan to do it for the foreseeable future.
You're going to snag it and steal it from anyone who tries to take it from you?
basically. If I'm making the schedule, I'll make it happen.
Oh, so you only pick the sunny ones in the nice areas. Is that how it works?
Oklahoma this year, I'll have you know, had to be postponed due to severe weather. And then on Sunday, it was like 48 degrees and raining. So there was no sun and no warmth.
How long are you on the ground when you have one of those kind of remote races? You said you go in a week early. Do you stay a few days later, or is it just in and out?
We typically fly out the Monday of the event week, and then we fly out Sunday, the day after the event, Sunday evening.
Okay.
So we're usually there for 7 days.
How many people does it take to put on one of these events? Or how many people does it take for Rugged to put on some of these events? Because that differs from brand to brand.
Yep. So unlike some other brands, we do not hire local contractors. We bring in the same staff for events. So the project managers are based in our Boston office, and then we have a team of really awesome contractors that are the ones that are building our obstacles for us, and they're truly rugged because they're flying event to event to event. So we typically have a construction staff of 8 to 10 bodies on site building these obstacles. As the event director, my side of things, registration, festival area, participant logistics, the admin side, if you will, but also still operations. We typically, event director included, have 7 bodies on the ground. So in total, we have 15 or so bodies making this all happen. Wow,
that's awesome. And do you I assume you rely on volunteers like a lot of races for course marshalling, maybe even on the build?
Yep. So we don't use volunteers for build. We use volunteers for the day of the event only, and we absolutely could not do it without them. We look for 125 volunteers for our morning shift and then another 125 volunteers in the afternoon.
How reliable do you find your volunteers? Because I know that's a constant challenge with volunteers are frequently worth what they're paid, right?
I mean, you see both. There are some people that are in it and they love it, and you're like, wow, I wish I could take you across the country with me. And, for the markets that we've been in for several years, you find a lot of the volunteers last year, like, thanks for coming back again this year. But like anything, you'll find people that are like, I don't want to be in the mud or the rain. And you're like, well, thank you for volunteering your time anyway.
I imagine when it's 40 degrees and you're in Oklahoma that you might have a scarce volunteer turnout.
Oh, naturally. It very much depends on the weather.
So let's talk about New England. So it's September 23rd and 24th. This will be its 7th year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7th year.
Yeah, 2010 was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming it's growing every year. And it's the biggest one you guys have had, right? We have 7 new
obstacles.
Oh, you have how many?
Mm-hmm.
Say that.
7 new obstacles to the Rugged Maniac series this year.
So I haven't been in a while, but I know a few people who are regulars at the New England race. So what do they have to look forward to? What obstacles have you got coming up?
So we introduced a few new obstacles, some that we were building and some that are inflatable based. So the crag is an inflatable. It's a steep climb. Think cliffs that you're climbing, and then you have to squeeze your way through logs before climbing down the other side. I want to say one of the flagship obstacles for Rugged Maniac is the accelerator, which is our slide, which everybody looks forward to. Mm-hmm. This year, it is now an inflatable, so it's doubled in size to what it has been in years past. So we're calling it the Accelerator 3.0 because it's the 3rd time it's gotten a revision. Pull your weight. You're essentially grabbing a rope and pulling as hard as you can on a 30-pound keg to get that keg to the top, and then you're going to continue on your way on the race course. And then we have some new obstacles that are going to test your strength as well as your teamwork mentality. So the guillotine is a strength and teamwork obstacle. You're going to lift a weighted door up so that you can crawl underneath. And if you're nice, you're going to hold that door up for your fellow participants to run through as well. And we also have swing shot, which is testing your upper body strength. So you're holding on tight to a bar as you swing across 8 feet of muddy water. Jump start is a twist on Rugged Beam Me Up. We removed the bottom rungs of Beam Me Up, and now you have to jump and use your arm strength to get to the top. And then the last new obstacle is fenced in. So you're getting up close and personal with 30 feet of mud that you have to traverse through while trapped under a huge chain link fence.
That sounds awesome.
But don't you want to come out and run it?
Now I think I might want to come out and run it. But I know you guys also you very much focus on making this beginner friendly, right? So whenever whenever anyone describes an obstacle and how brutal it is or hard it is or challenging it is, there's always that balance between also keeping it accessible. And you guys do a really good job of making sure this is relatively accessible. Pretty much anyone can get off the couch and come on out to a rugged, but the guys who push themselves, they usually do a pretty good job, right? If you want to do a pretty good job, you can challenge yourself, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I honestly think that's one of the reasons that we've seen continued growth, because like you said, for those looking for the challenge, they're typically in our, 945 elite heat, and they're pushing themselves to conquer the obstacles, but also racing against the clock. But as you mentioned, anybody can get off the couch and come out to the event. And, Rugged Maniac it's about fun at the end of the day. We're attracting people of all shapes and sizes and ages. It's always fun when you meet someone that are like, oh, I'm celebrating my 85th birthday by running rugged. And you're like, wow, I hope I'm that fit at 85.
Right. I hope I'm not fit at 60 or 50.
Yeah, true. Very true. So, at the end of the day, it's about having fun.
Now, you guys also kill it on the festival. I know even from the early days, one of the things that made rugged stick out on the local scene compared to some of the other races at the time were, you had bands and you had decent gear for sale and good beer and food. I'm assuming that hasn't changed much.
Nope. In fact, I think it's gotten better. When we were on Shark Tank and we got an investment from Mark Cuban, we took that investment in the network that came with Mark Cuban and focused on different areas of the event. Immediately, we upgraded some of our obstacles. And then in 2015, we kind of had a revamp of the festival area and making it bigger and better. So, we have a mechanical bull. We bring in an MC for the event. He travels to all of our events, so he knows the brand in and out, which is huge. We do pull-up contests, pie eating contests, stein hoisting contests all on stage. We have cornhole. We have trash barrel size beer pong. And, for the New England event specifically, it is sponsored by UFO Beers. So UFO and the Harpoon team all come out, and it's a great, perfect fall weekend in New England.
That's awesome. Now, going back to the Shark Tank thing, that obviously put Rugged Maniac kind of front and center for a lot of people who maybe hadn't seen obstacle course racing on TV. There wasn't any televised shows or televised competition back then necessarily. How much did that change Rugged Maniac? Did it make, obviously it sounds like you sunk some money into festival and obstacles, but did it change how you operated? Is that still a thing in 2017, that level of involvement with people like Mark Cuban and the backers and the money behind that?
So Mark Cuban is still 25% ownership for, his original buy-in. He, in the beginning when the deal was inked, he was very much hands-on. Our CEO and COO saw it more than I did at that time. Having to send weekly reports to Mark Cuban and make sure I's were dotted and T's were crossed. Yeah. He's not as involved at this point. It's still an investment, so we keep him in the loop. But, ultimately what came from that is having brand recognition with his name, and then his network, just being able to associate yourself with Mark Cuban. It opened a lot of doors pretty quickly.
I can imagine. Especially in 2015? I mean, OCR is still a baby in 2015 to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Very much so.
That's awesome. I think I'm going to have to make sure I'm available that weekend and come on out to Southwick and not go anywhere near the zoo this time.
Sounds like a plan.
Is there anything you want to share before we wrap up? Because I try and keep these relatively short and sweet, but did we miss anything that you want to get across?
I hope everyone comes out, you included, and joins us in New England this fall. We're looking to grow that event and we'd be happy to have you there. And then if anyone is interested in, taking the break from that OCR side of things and, pursuing one of our new 5Ks, halves, or full marathons through Loco races, anyone can sign up using the code RUGGED and save 20% off any one of their events. But the deal expires Friday, June 3rd.
Now, I noticed that one of those is was it the Harpoon half marathon or full marathon?
So Harpoon is doing sponsoring a couple events for them.
Yeah.
Obviously, in grabbing Loco, we were able to make the introduction there. So it's one big happy family.
That's fantastic. And good beer, too.
Oh, of course.
Always important. Fantastic.
When it's cold out, you gotta warm up somehow.
I mean, I think like I said earlier, right, the OCR space has been growing and booming, and I think in some areas they're seeing a bit of kind of, I won't say collapse, but a bit of retraction on that earlier boom. But I've always been a big fan of watching kind of how Rugged has grown and saying, you guys are right up there. I mean, I don't even know what Warrior Dash are doing this last couple of years. If you guys have overtaken them in market share, if not mind share, you probably get more people than Warrior Dash do in a calendar year now. I mean, you're absolutely killing it, and I love that. You've been around for 4 years. I mean, it's a lot of times I've spoken to race directors who've only just joined, which is fine, but you've seen that growth, and that's really cool. Now, you know what? Something we talked about right before we hit record, and let's touch on it because I will probably give you another email in a few months to talk about it as well, is that you're also involved in Cupid's Undie Run, which if anyone has hung around me for the last few years, you know I consider that the most fun event I do on a calendar year because it's hilarious to run around Fenway Park in the snow in your boxer shorts.
Hilarious is an understatement.
So how did you end up with Cupid's Undie Run? Not to change the Rugged Maniac brand podcast here from Rugged Maniac to Cupid's, but we'll probably have a conversation about that later as well. But how do you end up with Cupid's? Let's go into that real quick.
In 20 years. So in 2016, Lindsay, who was the race director for Cupid's, and her team volunteered at Costume Dash for us, and then we reciprocated by volunteering at the 2016 Cupid's Undie Run. And as someone operationally minded and loving events, I fell in love with the event because it was so unlike Rugged that I then typed a recap on the event and how we could improve it operationally and kind of got hooked that way and came on as a co-race director this past year. And, Lindsay's stepping down, so it'll be my baby moving forward. But there's nothing like planning an event for people to pregame for a couple hours, take a nice lap around Fenway Park in their underwear, and then have a closing out party at the House of Blues afterwards, all in February.
I love it. I mean, one of my strongest memories of Cupid's was I think the first year we did it. We all went into this hot, stuffy bar. I don't think it was House of Blues back then. And when we came out of one of the back doors into the alleyway to set off, it was snowing, these big, fat, fluffy snowflakes, and we're all down to our skivvies and skin, and it was quite surreal. I'd never done anything like that before. It was like I say, it was hilarious. I loved it. We'll probably touch base and talk more about that another time because I think that's worth its own show.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have to get pictures involved somehow.
Oh God. I don't know if we're ready for that. All right.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if you want to get out to Rugged Maniac, it's September 23rd and 24th in Southwick, Mass, which is nowhere near Southwick Zoo. So don't put that in your GPS. And hopefully I'll see you there.
Thank you.
As always, guys, thanks so much for checking out the show. We'd love to hear what you think, so give us some feedback, submit a question, share a story from one of your recent races or events. I think the show gets better and better with your participation, and it's not just Paul, Sandy, and myself talking. So to reach out, ask questions, suggest a topic, whatever it may be, follow along on Facebook. We've got a dedicated Any Spottins show page, or you can join the community at Any Spottins on Facebook as well. Twitter's your thing. Shoot us a tweet at Any Spottins. And if you want to find our full library of episodes, I'd recommend either iTunes or Stitcher. So again, for Paul, Sandy, myself, thanks so much for listening, and until next time.